The crystal hall of Zareth Prime shone like 1,000 suns. Its walls were made of living crystal that hummed softly, glowing in blue and gold. Every sound echoed like thunder in the air. Today was not an ordinary day. Today, the galaxy's strongest warriors had gathered for the royal test of strength, the challenge that decided who could stand beside the royal family as the next protector of the core. A tall platform stood the Queen of Zareth, wrapped in silver robes that shimmered with power. Her voice rang across the hall. The royal core awaits its chosen one. Let strength and honor guide your hearts. The crowd roared. Alien warriors from different planets stepped forward one by one. Some were twice the height of a man, their armor glowing with energy. Others had 4 arms, glowing eyes, or skin made of stone. Each of them had fought in wars, conquered worlds, and held great power. They were the elite of the galaxy. At the center of the stage sat the royal core, a floating crystal, larger than a human head, shining softly in white light. It was said to test not only strength but the soul itself. No one had ever fully understood its will. The first warrior, General Threx of the Iron Scales, stepped forward. His muscles were like mountains. He bowed, then reached out with both hands. The hall grew silent. The moment his fingers touched the core, the light changed from white to deep red. Threx grunted, struggling, veins bulging across his neck. He roared and lifted, but the core did not move. The red light burned brighter, then flung him backward across the floor. The queen frowned. Next, a second warrior came, a tall, blue-skinned female from the Cryon species. Her eyes glowed with frost. She chanted an old battle prayer and placed her palms on the core. For a moment, the light flickered white, then turned crimson again. A gust of freezing wind exploded, throwing her back as shards of ice fell across the hall. One by one, every elite warrior failed. The core stayed still, shining red each time as if rejecting them all. Whispers filled the hall. Fear and disbelief grew among the crowd. From her throne, the queen clenched her fist. "Even the strongest cannot move it," she muttered. "Has the galaxy grown weak?" Beside her stood her daughter, Princess Kara. She was young, sharp-eyed, and known for her stubborn spirit. She crossed her arms and sighed. "Maybe the core is just bored, Mother. Maybe it wants something different." The queen gave her a sharp look. "The core chooses only the worthy." Not jokes. Down below, a small human janitor swept the floor quietly behind the royal guards. His name was Eli Turner, and no one ever paid him much attention. He wore a simple gray uniform, and his eyes carried the tired look of someone who worked too many hours. He had come from a small human colony far away, one forgotten by most of the galaxy. Eli didn't care about power or glory. He just wanted to finish cleaning before the night shift ended. Princess Kara, growing frustrated, looked at him and laughed softly. "Maybe I should just pick that little human. He looks more awake than these warriors." The guards chuckled. "Your Highness, he's just a janitor." Kara smirked, walking down from the throne with a playful smile. "Then let's see if the core likes janitors." She walked up to Eli, who froze, broom in hand. Princess," he stammered. Kara raised an eyebrow. "Relax, I'm not going to hurt you, just testing something." Before Eli could react, she pinched his arm gently, half joking. "Your chosen little human," she said, laughing. And then it happened. The air trembled. The lights across the hall dimmed, and the royal core began to hum. Its color shifted, from white to gold to blinding white again. The entire hall glowed as if a sun had exploded inside. "By the stars," someone whispered. The queen stood from her throne. The guards fell to their knees, shielding their eyes. Every warrior in the hall gasped as the core slowly rose higher, glowing stronger than ever before. Kara stepped back in shock. What did I do?" The core turned and floated toward Eli. The light wrapped around him like a warm wind, lifting the dust from his uniform. His broom dropped from his hand and clattered on the floor. The queen's voice echoed. "The core has accepted him." Gasps filled the room. The warriors looked at each other, confused and angry. "A human," one hissed. "A janitor?" another growled. Eli stood frozen, light shining in his eyes. I didn't do anything," he said weakly. The queen stepped forward, her face unreadable. "Bring the human forward," she ordered. Guards surrounded him, bowing slightly, unsure of what to do. The core floated gently above his shoulder, still glowing white, calm, peaceful, and alive. Kara stared at him, half amused, half shocked. "Well," she whispered, "I was only joking." Eli swallowed hard, whispering to himself, "What just happened to me?" The core pulsed once more like a heartbeat, and the entire crystal hall trembled again. Somewhere deep below the palace, ancient machines began to stir, and in that moment, the fate of the galaxy quietly began to change, all because a princess jokingly pinched a human janitor. The crystal hall of Zareth Prime was silent. The bright white light from the royal core slowly faded, leaving only a soft golden glow around the confused human, Eli Carter. Every alien eye in the hall watched him, wide and uncertain. The same warriors who had shouted proudly minutes ago now stood frozen, unsure whether to kneel or to strike. Eli's hands trembled. "I didn't mean to do anything," he whispered, blinking in the light. "I was just cleaning the floor." Princess Kara stared at him with her mouth half open. She had only made a joke. She never expected the core, the most sacred object of her people, to actually react to her words. The Queen's voice broke the silence. "Step forward, human." Eli hesitated. Two royal guards in gold armor gently guided him toward the throne. The glowing core floated behind him, humming softly like a living thing. As he reached the steps, the Queen studied him carefully. Her eyes were sharp, filled with power and judgment. "What is your name, human?" Eli Carter, Your Majesty," he stuttered. "I'm a janitor. I clean the halls." The Queen's tone stayed calm but cold. "And yet the core responds only to you." The hall filled with whispers again. One alien shouted, "It must be a trick." Another growled, "Maybe humans use hidden machines." The Queen raised her hand and silence fell again. "The core never lies," she said. "It chooses by spirit, not by rank or race." She turned toward the royal scientists. "Scan him." Several alien scientists rushed forward, holding scanners that glowed blue. They moved around Eli, scanning every inch of his body. Beams of light passed over his face and hands. "Normal human readings," one scientist said. "No implants, no energy sources, just human." The Queen frowned. "Then why the core?" Before anyone could answer, the core floated closer to Eli. It pulsed with warm white light and let out a gentle hum, almost like a heartbeat. The sound filled the room, calming the crowd for a moment. Kara stepped closer, her curiosity stronger than her fear. "Do you feel anything, Eli?" she asked softly. He shook his head slowly. "It feels warm, like it's breathing with me." She tilted her head. "That's not possible. The core has never acted like this before." But even as she spoke, something strange began to happen. The core's light spread out in waves, creating glowing patterns on the floor, symbols none of the aliens recognized. They moved like living lines, circling Eli's feet, then fading away. The Queen looked uneasy. "Those marks, they look ancient." The royal historian stepped forward, holding an old digital scroll. His wrinkled fingers trembled. "Your Majesty," he said, "these symbols appear in the oldest prophecy of our empire. It speaks of a humble one from the dust world chosen when the core seeks balance." Kara blinked. "The dust world? That means Earth, doesn't it?" The historian nodded slowly. "Yes, the lost human home." A low murmur swept through the hall. Many of the alien warriors looked angry or afraid. Some even backed away from Eli. Eli raised his hands, panicked. "I don't know anything about this." "I didn't do anything." The Queen stood tall, her voice commanding. "Enough. If the core has chosen you, then you are now under the protection of the throne." The guards immediately surrounded Eli, not as prisoners, but as protectors. Kara leaned close to her mother. "You believe him?" "I believe the core," the Queen said quietly. "It has never been wrong, but not everyone agreed." In the shadows near the exit, a tall alien warrior watched with burning eyes. His armor bore the mark of the royal guard, but his face was twisted with hate. He muttered to himself, "A human janitor chosen over us? Never." That night, as the palace grew quiet, Eli was taken to a royal chamber, the first human ever allowed to sleep inside the palace walls. He sat on the edge of a soft silver bed, staring at his hands. The core floated in the corner of the room, glowing faintly, almost like it was watching him. He whispered to it, "Why me? What do you want?" The core didn't answer, but its light pulsed softly, like it understood. Outside, in the dark corridors, footsteps echoed. The jealous warrior from the hall moved silently with a small group of soldiers. Their eyes glowed red under their helmets. "The Queen protects him," one hissed. The leader whispered, Then we'll end him before dawn. The Corps will reject him once he's dead. Back in his room, Eli began to drift to sleep. For the first time in his life, he felt both afraid and important. Somewhere deep down, he felt something new, a strange pull inside his chest connected to the glowing core. Suddenly, the light from the core brightened. A shadow moved under the door. Eli opened his eyes and froze. He heard soft metal footsteps. Someone was outside. The core hummed louder, glowing white. Eli's heart pounded. He whispered, "Who's there?" There was no answer, only silence. And then, the door handle began to turn. The royal palace of Zareth Prime slept under a silver moon. Its walls shimmered with quiet energy, and the air carried the soft hum of ancient machines. Yet in one corner of the vast palace, Eli Carter could not sleep. He sat on the edge of his royal bed, staring at the glowing royal core that floated silently near the window. It bathed the room in pale light, calm and steady, but Eli's heart was not calm. He could still hear the crowd's whispers from earlier. A human janitor, chosen by the Corps? And see the angry faces of alien warriors who had trained all their lives, only to be rejected. He sighed, rubbing his eyes. "I didn't ask for any of this," he whispered. The core pulsed once, softly, almost like it understood. But then, the quiet broke. A faint metallic click came from the corridor outside. Another, then a whisper. The air grew colder. Eli froze. He stood up slowly, his bare feet touching the warm floor. He whispered, "Hello?" But his voice came out shaky. No answer. Then the lights flickered once, and went out. Darkness swallowed the room. The core's glow brightened instantly, spreading a white circle of light around him. Shadows danced across the walls. Eli's breath quickened. He could hear the faint hiss of air vents, and then something else. A soft footstep. Someone was inside. He looked toward the door, and saw a shape move. A tall figure in black armor, eyes glowing faint red, slipping through the darkness like a ghost. Eli stepped back. "Who are you?" he whispered. The assassin didn't answer. Instead, he raised a curved blade that shimmered with poison light. Another figure appeared near the window, and another by the door. 3 of them. Eli's pulse raced. He glanced at the core. "Help me." The core pulsed but did nothing. The assassins moved closer, silent, deadly. One whispered something in an alien tongue. Another pulled out a small device, a sound blocker, and threw it on the ground. The hum of the palace faded. Even the core's song dimmed. Eli's instincts screamed. He ran. He ducked behind the desk, grabbing the first thing he could find, a cleaning mop he had left near the door. His old mop, his only weapon. The first assassin lunged. The blade sliced the air above Eli's head. He swung the mop wildly, hitting the attacker's helmet with a loud crack. The assassin stumbled back, hissing in rage. Eli dashed toward the corridor, but another assassin blocked the way. He felt trapped, surrounded. His heart pounded so fast it hurt. "Stop," he yelled. "I don't even know what you want." "You dishonor the royal core," one hissed. His voice was mechanical, bitter. "You are not worthy." The assassin struck again. Eli dodged, barely. The mop handle broke in half. He tripped over a fallen chair, falling hard. The blade came down toward his chest, and the core exploded with light. A burst of white energy filled the room, so bright that every shadow vanished. The assassins screamed, clutching their helmets. The light pushed them back as if an invisible hand had struck them. Eli gasped, blinking in the glare. The core hovered above him now, glowing pure white, spinning slowly. The air was warm again. Outside, guards shouted and rushed toward the noise. When they burst through the door, the assassins were already fleeing through a broken window. The Queen's personal guards surrounded Eli at once. "Protect the human!" one shouted. Moments later, Princess Kara arrived, her robe still half undone from sleep. "What happened?" she demanded. Her eyes widened when she saw the scorched marks on the walls. Eli sat on the floor, breathing hard, the broken mop in his hands. "They tried to kill me," he said quietly. Kara stepped closer to the core, which still glowed faintly beside him. "It protected you," she whispered. "The core. It reacted on its own." The queen entered soon after, her face dark with anger. "Find the traitors," she ordered. "No one touches him again without my command." As the guards left, Kara knelt beside Eli. "You should rest," she said softly. "You're safe now." Eli shook his head. "Safe? I was almost killed in your palace. Why me? Why would anyone care about a janitor?" Kara looked into his tired eyes. "Because you are not just a janitor anymore. The core made its choice. And now, every eye in the galaxy is watching you." The core pulsed once more, brighter this time, as if confirming her words. Later, when the hall was quiet again, Kara went to the royal archives, her mind racing. She searched through ancient scrolls and digital records. After hours, she stopped, her eyes widening in shock. On a faded tablet, covered in dust, was an image of a human. A man standing in the same glowing light as Eli, holding the royal core thousands of years ago. Her heart pounded. "It's not the first time," she whispered. "It's happened before." And somewhere far above the palace, beyond the stars, a dark signal flickered, as if something ancient had finally noticed that the core had awakened again. The galaxy was no longer quiet. The morning sun rose over Zareth Prime, turning the royal palace gold. But peace did not return with daylight. Guards marched in silence, their armor still marked by the night's attack. The queen's orders echoed through every hall. "Find the traitors. Find who sent them." Yet while the palace searched for enemies, Princess Kara searched for answers. She hadn't slept since the attack. Her eyes were tired, but her mind burned with questions. She sat inside the royal archives, a vast room filled with glowing crystal shelves and floating tablets that recorded thousands of years of history. The light from the crystals shimmered across her face as she flipped through ancient files. The image she had found last night haunted her. A human standing beside the glowing core, just like Eli. The file was labeled simply, "The First Chosen." She touched the screen gently, whispering, "Who were you?" The voice of the royal historian, an old alien with thin silver skin, came from behind her. "You found it, didn't you?" Kara turned quickly. "You knew?" The old historian sighed, stepping closer with slow, careful steps. "Only in old stories, tales told to children. I never thought it was real." "Tell me," she demanded. He placed his bony hand on the glowing tablet. "Long ago, before the Empire, before the Queen's bloodline ruled, the core was said to come from the stars themselves. It was not made by any race. It chose its protector." Kara frowned. "And that protector was human?" The historian nodded. "Yes, the humans once had something inside them, not strength, not technology, but a kind of spirit the core recognized. When the galaxy fell into chaos, the core found a human, a humble one born in dust. It gave him its light and he restored balance. But when peace returned, he vanished. His kind faded into silence." Kara's heart pounded. "And now it's happening again." The historian nodded slowly. "The prophecy says, when pride blinds the strong and greed darkens the stars, the humble will rise again. The hand of balance will awaken in dust." Kara whispered, "The humble one. The janitor." The historian looked down sadly. "The core doesn't care for rank or blood. That is why it frightens kings." While Kara learned of the prophecy, Eli Carter sat quietly in his guarded chamber. The events of the night still played in his mind, the glowing core, the assassins, the flash of light. He looked at his reflection in a polished metal plate. His eyes looked different now, slightly brighter, as if touched by the core's glow. "I'm just a man with a broom," he muttered. "Why would something like that choose me?" The core floated beside him, silent and calm. A guard entered. "The Queen requests your presence." Eli followed, uneasy. As he walked through the long halls, he saw how the aliens looked at him. Some bowed slightly, others glared with cold anger. He felt small in their great palace, like a shadow that didn't belong. When he reached the throne chamber, the Queen stood tall beside her daughter. "You survived the attack," the Queen said. "That means the core protects you." Eli nodded slowly. "I didn't protect myself. It did." Kara stepped forward. "We found something, Eli. You're not the first human the core has chosen." Eli blinked. "What do you mean?" She showed him the holographic image, a human from ancient times holding the core. "That's impossible," Eli whispered. "Humans were never part of your empire." The historian who had joined them spoke softly. "Your people were forgotten. Some say they fell. Others say they hid. But the core remembers." The Queen studied Eli, her face unreadable. "If this prophecy is true, then you are here for a reason. But the galaxy will not accept it easily." Suddenly the core began to hum again, louder this time. Its glow spread through the room, and lines of light stretched across the floor, forming a circle of symbols. The guard stepped back in fear. Eli looked around. "What's happening?" Kara whispered. "It's showing us something." Images appeared in the air. Entire worlds burning, alien fleets falling from the sky, and dark shadows moving between stars. Then, a shape, something vast, winged, and made of darkness, devoured the light. The core's hum deepened. The Queen's face went pale. "What is that?" Kara breathed. The historian whispered. "The coming storm. The prophecy's end. The darkness that follows pride." Eli's voice was quiet. "So this is why it chose me. Not to clean halls, but to stop that." The Queen looked at him sharply. "You think you can stop it?" Eli swallowed hard. "I don't know, but it seems I don't have a choice." The core pulsed once more, and the images vanished. The light faded, leaving only silence. The Queen turned to her guards. "Prepare the council. The galaxy must hear of this." Kara looked at Eli. "The core called you, and now it's warning us. Whatever that darkness is, it's coming." Eli stared at the core, his reflection glowing in its surface. For the first time, he didn't see fear in his eyes. He saw purpose, and somewhere beyond the edge of known space, something ancient opened its eyes, a soundless scream echoing through the void, answering the core's call. The prophecy had begun again. Darkness fell early on Zareth Prime that night. The stars above looked strange. Some flickered, some vanished, and others shone red like open wounds. The royal palace glowed faintly under a silver shield, but even that light seemed nervous. Inside the throne room, the royal council gathered. Dozens of alien leaders filled the chamber, war generals, science masters, and high lords from across the empire. Their faces were hard, their voices sharp. The Queen stood in front of them, tall and calm. "You have all seen the core's vision," she said. "A storm is coming to our galaxy." Whispers spread like fire. One alien general slammed his fist on the table. "You expect us to believe that a human janitor and a glowing rock can predict war?" Another, with a snake-like face, hissed, "The core is old, yes, but it has never chosen a human. This is chaos." The Queen's eyes turned cold. "Silence. The core has spoken, and I will not ignore it." Eli Carter stood at her side, feeling out of place among so many powerful beings. He kept his head low, his hands folded. The glowing core floated beside him, silent but alive. Princess Kara stood close to him, watching the arguing council with a hard expression. She knew what they feared wasn't the prophecy. It was him. Suddenly the ground trembled. A deep sound rumbled from somewhere far below the palace, like thunder buried underground. "What was that?" Eli asked softly. An officer rushed into the hall, his face pale. "Your Majesty, something is awakening under the capital." The council erupted in noise again. The Queen raised her voice. "Explain." "Energy spikes from the deep layers," the officer shouted. "Machines buried for millennia, they're coming online." Kara's eyes widened. "Machines?" Before anyone could move, the core began to hum. Its light grew brighter, filling the entire hall. Then it released a single beam downward, through the floor, through the stone, deep into the planet. The queen shielded her eyes. What is it doing? The beam vanished. For a second, everything was silent. Then the whole planet shook. The windows shattered. Alarms screamed across the city. Outside, the night sky turned white as massive towers broke through the surface of the ground. Giant metallic shapes rose from the earth, ancient war drones long forgotten. Hundreds of them. They were black and sharp, their bodies covered in strange glowing lines. Their heads turned in unison, scanning the city with cold red eyes. The people screamed. The palace guards rushed to defend the walls. Fighters launched from air bases, shooting beams of light at the rising machines, but the drones barely reacted. Inside the throne room, chaos broke out. Council members ran. Alarms blared. Eli grabbed Kara's arm. "We have to do something." Kara stared out the shattered window. "They're not attacking the palace, they're searching for something." The core pulsed again, brighter and louder. It floated higher, its hum vibrating through the walls. Eli felt it pulling him, calling him. His heart raced. He stepped closer to the core. "You want me to go out there, don't you?" The core glowed white in answer. Kara grabbed his sleeve. "You'll die. Those things are weapons from before our time." Eli looked at her, scared but calm. If the core woke them, maybe it's the only thing that can stop them. Before she could reply, another explosion shook the palace. The ceiling cracked. Dust and light rained down. The queen shouted, "Evacuate the princess. Protect the core." But the core moved first. It floated toward Eli, stopping just above his hands. The moment his fingers touched it, a wave of white energy burst outward. Everyone nearby stumbled back, blinded. When the light faded, Eli was gone. He opened his eyes to find himself standing outside, in the middle of the burning city. The war drones towered above him, their massive legs crushing the streets. The air was filled with smoke and fire. He held the core in his hands. It glowed calmly, unaffected by the chaos. The nearest drone turned toward him. Its red eyes flickered. Eli whispered, "If you can hear me." "Stop," the core pulsed. A wave of white light shot out from it, rippling through the air. Every drone froze in place. Their red eyes dimmed to orange, then to yellow. For a long moment, the city fell silent. The soldiers stopped firing. The crowd stopped running. Then, one by one, the drones bent their massive heads, kneeling before Eli. The queen, watching from the palace tower, gasped. "They obey him." Kara's voice shook. The core gave him control. Eli looked around at the silent army of machines and felt a chill run down his spine. He whispered, "What are you really?" The core answered only with a soft hum, but deep inside he felt a message. Quiet, heavy, and clear. The war is not against them. The true enemy is coming. The core's glow spread farther, connecting to every machine across the planet. Above, the stars flickered again, and from beyond the blackness of space, a signal returned. A voice that wasn't human. A voice that wasn't alive. "We have found the light again. Prepare the fleet." Eli's heart sank as he looked up at the red stars. The invasion signal had been sent. The city of Zareth Prime no longer slept. Smoke drifted through the skies. The air filled with the deep hum of ancient war drones standing silent like metal giants. Their glowing eyes reflected off shattered towers and burning streets. The people stared in disbelief. Machines that once destroyed worlds now bowed before a single man. That man was Eli Carter. He stood in the middle of the ruined plaza, his clothes torn, the royal core glowing brightly in his hands. The wind blew ashes around him, but the light from the core made everything calm. His heart still raced, his mind filled with questions he couldn't answer. "Why me?" he whispered again. "Why a janitor?" The core pulsed softly, warm against his palms. Then a voice, deep, ancient, not from outside but from inside his mind, spoke. "Because you are untainted by pride. Because you serve without seeking power." Eli staggered back, shocked. "Who are you?" "I am what remains of the first balance. I am the memory of the stars." He tried to speak, but the light grew stronger, wrapping around him like a soft storm. The air shimmered. His broken mop lying nearby began to glow. Its wooden handle turned metallic, reshaping into a staff of silver and gold. The crystal tip shone like a miniature sun. Eli stared, speechless. "What's happening to me?" "You are becoming what the galaxy has forgotten. A protector, not a ruler." The words echoed through him, and the core's energy surged outward again. Across the planet, the ancient drones responded, activating fully. They rose higher, forming precise lines like soldiers awaiting orders. High above, in the palace tower, Princess Kara watched in awe. The queen stood beside her, her usual calm replaced by quiet wonder. Kara's voice trembled. "Mother, he's controlling them all." The queen nodded slowly. "No, the core is. But it trusts him." Down below, the light faded around Eli. The voice disappeared, leaving silence and a new weight on his shoulders. He looked at the glowing staff in his hand and sighed. "Protector, huh? Guess I don't get to quit this job." A distant rumble shook the ground again. The red stars above flickered and strange shapes began to move beyond the planet's atmosphere. Kara's communicator buzzed. A soldier's frightened voice came through. "Princess, unknown fleets detected. Massive energy readings." "They're not ours." Kara's eyes widened. "They're already here." The queen turned to her generals. "Prepare all defenses. Evacuate the lower cities." Then she looked at her daughter. "Bring the human to me." Moments later, Kara flew down in a royal transport and found Eli standing among the silent drones. The people nearby kept their distance, bowing slightly, whispering his name like a myth. She stepped out of the ship. "Eli," he turned, surprised. "You came?" "I had to," she said, her tone softer than before. "You need to see this." She handed him a small holographic map showing hundreds of red signals moving through space toward their world. "The invasion has begun." Eli stared at the glowing dots. Each one represented an enemy ship, thousands in number. "There's no way we can fight that," he said quietly. Kara met his eyes. "Not with soldiers. But maybe." "With you," Eli gave a shaky laugh. "Me? I don't even know what I'm doing." "The core knows," she said. "It chose you. Maybe that's enough." He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, let's try." He raised the staff high. The core pulsed once, twice, then sent a wave of white light through every drone on the planet. Their red eyes turned bright blue. The sky thundered as they lifted off one after another, forming massive fleets of light. The ground trembled beneath the power of their engines. From above, it looked like rivers of shining metal rising into the stars. The Queen's voice came through the comms, echoing across the city. "All units follow the Protector's command." Eli closed his eyes, feeling the core's pulse inside his chest. He spoke softly, but his voice carried through every ship, every drone, every speaker. "Defend the innocent. Do not destroy more than you must. We fight for peace." The drones moved as one. The people of Zareth watched, silent, as the sky filled with hope for the first time in centuries. Kara looked at him, her expression mixed, with pride and worry. "You're leading an army of legends," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "Yeah, not bad for a janitor." Suddenly the core glowed brighter again. Images flashed in his mind. Planets burning, people screaming, and a dark fleet shaped like living shadows approaching fast. "They are close," the core whispered, "and they do not fear the light." Eli looked up at the red horizon. "Then we'll show them why they should." The fleet of drones roared into the sky faster than sound, vanishing into the stars. Eli and Kara stood together, watching them go. For a moment, everything was still, the calm before the storm. Kara turned to him. "You're not alone, Eli. The core may have chosen you, but I'm choosing to fight with you." He looked at her, surprised. "Princesses don't go to war." She smiled faintly. "Then maybe I'm not a normal princess." Far above, lightning cracked across the blackness of space as the first enemy ships appeared. Dark, enormous, and alive. The invasion had truly begun, and on the surface of Zareth Prime, a humble human stood ready, holding the light of the stars in his hands. The janitor had become the protector of the galaxy. The stars were no longer quiet. Above the shining world of Zareth Prime, space burned red. The invasion had begun. The dark fleets arrived in silence, massive shapes that blocked the light of suns moving like shadows through the void. They were not ships made by hands or machines. They were alive, pulsing with strange energy, feeding on the power of the stars themselves. Their leader was called the Devourer, a being older than empires, hungering for the core's light. From the surface below, billions watched as their skies filled with fire. In the royal command tower, alarms screamed. Generals shouted orders. The Queen stood tall, her silver robes torn by the wind, eyes sharp as steel. "Defensive lines ready. Protect the core and the Protector." Far outside the city, Eli Carter stood with the core floating before him. The ancient drones, now his army, covered the horizon, glowing blue like a sea of stars. Their hum filled the air, steady and strong. Beside him stood Princess Kara, dressed in white armor. She looked at the dark sky and then at him. "They're coming." "The first wave," Eli nodded. He held his shining staff tightly. "Then we fight." The first shadow ships broke through the clouds, firing streams of red fire. The drones responded instantly, rising into the air, forming glowing patterns around the planet. When the two forces met, the sky exploded with light. It was not a battle, it was a storm. Eli felt every explosion, every strike, through the core. His mind connected to thousands of machines at once. He could feel them move, think, and fight together. He guided them like a conductor leading a cosmic orchestra of war. Kara shouted over the noise, "You're controlling all of them?" "Not control," Eli said, his voice calm despite the chaos. "We're connected." Above, the shadow fleet pushed forward. Every time a drone fell, two more took its place. But the enemy seemed endless. For every light, there was more darkness. The Queen's voice echoed through the comm system. "They are breaking through the outer wall." Kara turned to Eli. "If they reach the palace—" "They won't," he said, gripping the staff. "Not while I'm breathing." The core pulsed brighter, surrounding him in white fire. Its voice filled his mind again, soft but sad. "You cannot win by power alone, Protector. The Devourer feeds on strength. You must give something it cannot take." Eli frowned. "What do you mean?" But before the core could answer, the ground shook violently. A massive shadow descended through the clouds. It was the Devourer itself, its body as large as a continent, its wings black as night. Its voice rumbled through every mind on the planet. "The light returns, and I will consume it again." The core trembled. Kara covered her ears, screaming from the sound. Eli fell to one knee, the air heavy around him. He looked up at the giant creature. "If you want the core," he shouted, "you'll have to take me with it." The Devourer laughed, a sound like breaking metal. "Then so be it, human." The core spoke again, its tone calm. "Eli, the balance must be restored. Only you can carry my light into the void." He realized what it meant. The core didn't want him to fight, it wanted him to end it. Kara saw the look in his eyes and grabbed his arm. "No, don't you dare. There has to be another way." He smiled sadly. "You said I was chosen. Maybe this is why." Tears glimmered in her eyes. "You'll die." He looked at her softly. "Then I'll die doing something that matters." The core rose higher, spinning faster. Energy filled the air. Eli stepped into the light, raising his staff. The drones pulled back, forming a vast circle around him. Kara watched as he began to glow, his body fading into light. His voice echoed across the sky, strong and clear. "Zareth Prime. Hold the line." The core exploded in brightness. A column of white fire shot upward, piercing the Devourer's chest. The creature screamed, twisting in agony as cracks of light spread across its dark body. Then in one blinding flash, everything went silent. When the light faded, the sky was blue again. The shadow fleets were gone. Only ashes of starlight drifted where they once stood. The people of Zareth Prime looked up in awe. The war was over. In the quiet that followed, Kara stood in the ruins of the plaza. The drones had powered down, kneeling like statues. The core was gone. So was Eli. On the cracked ground, she saw something glinting. A single white crystal and a broken piece of the janitor's old broom. She knelt and picked them up gently. The Queen approached slowly, her voice soft. "He saved us all." Kara held the crystal close to her heart. "He didn't just save us," she whispered. "He reminded us what strength really means." High above, the stars began to shine again, brighter than before. Somewhere in that endless sky, the core's faint whisper drifted through space. "The humble one has restored the balance." And from that day forward, every world remembered the legend of the human janitor who rose from the dust to become the protector of the galaxy.